Alright, hello and welcome back. It's your boy Hank Hackerson at Hank Hacks Hackers, and we are on our security engineer pathway. We are going to go through the Active Directory Hardening room, which is a part of the Network and System Security module for Security Engineer Pathway of TryHackMe. And yeah, so this is what the room outline looks like. We got the intro, the understanding general Active Directory concepts, securing authentication methods, implementing least privilege model, the Microsoft Security Compliance Toolkit, protecting against known attacks, and the Active Directory Hardening cheat sheet, which is always nice to have. So let's jump into this. Actually, just got to make that quick disclosure. So if you're studying for a security engineer or security analyst, ethical hacker, pen tester, any of those certifications, I do encourage you to like, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell so that you get notified the next time a video comes out. TryHackMe is pretty awesome with their information, and all this stuff is directly applicable to your examinations as well as your day-to-day of the security engineer job, for example, or security analyst, any of those things. And on top of that, it would just be really nice to have you as a part of our community, because we have a really nice, awesome, growing community. And I love seeing you guys in the comments, and I do make custom content based on the questions that come in. So would be awesome to see you in the community comments. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So now, without further ado, let's jump into the introduction of the room. And I got to start this machine here. And it's going to be a Windows machine, obviously. So these are some of our learning objectives here. So we want to make sure that we secure authentication methods, hosting or securing hosts through group policies, implementing the least privilege model, protecting against known attacks, and a recovery plan just in case you actually get compromised. There's the Active Directory Basics video that I already did, which you are more than welcome to go check out. We have breaching Active Directory, which I also have already done, and the standard technologies used in the corporate environment. Is this a room that I did? No, I did not do this room yet. So this is really cool. I can probably go check this out as well, but I have not done this particular video. But you do have access to the Active Directory Basics and breaching AD. And so this is this is our channel page. And then if you just click on this search button right here, you can literally search for Active Directory, and then it'll bring up all the videos that we have on Active Directory. And this is the Windows playlist that has 28 videos in here that you can go get access to. So there's a lot of stuff that is already on the channel for Active Directory, and you're more than welcome to go check all that stuff out. And I highly recommend that you do, because if you haven't already done it, let me pause this thing. If you haven't already done it, there's a lot of good information just about Active Directory. So I do recommend that you go check it out. And by now, our IP address has already been issued to us. If you wanted to VPN or remote desktop, if you wanted to remote desktop into the Windows machine, this would be the credentials for it. But you do need to have access to the room so that you can go turn on that machine, that start machine button, so that it actually generates an IP address for you. And then that's basically it. So I have already started this. It takes maybe another minute or two, not even, probably should be up pretty quickly. And then once that's up, we'll jump into the actual content of the room. All right, so just understanding some basic Active Directory concepts is pretty important here. So there's the domain, which acts as a core unit regarding the logical structure. So everything belongs to the domain, basically. That's kind of what you need to know. Everything under the hierarchy of Active Directory falls under the domain. And then there's the domain controller, which is a server that acts as the brain for the Windows Server domain. And it supervises the entire network. And within that domain, it's going to act as the gatekeeper for the authentication of users and resources authentication, and a lot of other things that kind of fall under that path. And so you see the user tries to access the domain, the request is first sent to the domain controller, and then the domain controller validates that request, and then the domain controller grants access if it's a valid user. If it's not a valid user, they deny access. Now, a tree and a forest are two critical concepts in Active Directory. And a tree is a set of domains. A forest is a set of trees. So with typically what it looks like is that you would find a domain inside of a tree, and then if it's a really big company, you'll find a tree inside of a forest. And companies like Microsoft, you better believe they have, probably dozens, if not hundreds of forests. And it could be either for each state, or it could be for each country that they operate in. So a forest has a bunch of trees in it, and a tree has a bunch of domains in it. And then you can find the organizational units and things like that. Are we going to talk about any of that stuff? Yeah, we don't talk about any of those things yet. But there's a lot of stuff that are within domains themselves. Trees are responsible for sharing resources between domains. The communication between domains inside a tree is possible either one-way or two-way trust, meaning tree A trusts tree B, and that means that tree B can access everything inside of tree A. That's a one-way trust. If it's a two-way trust, they both trust each other and they both can get access to the resources that each one holds. When a domain is added to the tree, it becomes the offspring domain of that particular domain to which it is added. So it's called a parent domain, right? So the tree itself is technically a domain. You add a domain to that tree and it becomes a child item. It becomes a child domain of that tree, which is now the parent domain. And in a forest, sharing the standard global catalog, directory schema, logical structure, and directory configuration between collections of trees is done through a forest. And communication between two forests becomes possible once a forest level trust is created, and it could be the same thing, right? And then you have trust in Active Directory, which can be done either based on characteristics or based on directions. So characteristic trust is categorized as a transitive or non-transitive trust. Transitive trusts reflect a two-way relationship between those domains. If there are three domains, domain A trusts domain B, and domain B has a transitive trust with domain C. Consequently, domain A will automatically trust domain C. So transitive basically means that everybody trusts each other. And then the trusts are two-way types when classified based on their direction. So one-way or two-way trusts, and we already kind of discussed that already. Non-transitive in this particular case would just mean that they don't trust everybody as it goes along. It's specifically assigned to one or the other, or which one gets access to which one, so on and so forth. And so if you go to the Server Manager, Tools, Active Directory, Domains, and Trust is where you can see all of that information. And this is a screenshot for us to be able to see that. So Active Directory, Domains, and Trusts, and then you click on the top of the tree, the top of the hierarchy, and it shows you everything that's available inside of it. And then you can just break these down. So this would be just one specific domain, and then inside that you have, or this is one tree, I guess, and inside that you have the domain, but then you could have dozens or hundreds under this thing. So it makes it actually very, very easy to manage objects and organizational units and stuff like that. And then this is where containers come in. So when you create a container, it's also referred to as an organizational unit sometimes, and each part or each network part is treated as an object in AD, and anything from resources, users, services, or part of the network can be an object. And the hierarchical structure of AD defines an object may or may not contain other objects, and when an object holds another object, it's termed as a container. So it's called the leaf object. So what is the root domain attached to the AD machine? So let's actually go and pull this thing up, and let's see if we can do it. We'll do it two ways. So we're going to open up Active Directory, and it's right here. So tryhackme.loc for local, probably. Tryhackme.loc is going to be our domain, and I want to see if we can do this through PowerShell as well. PowerShell is actually much faster, in my opinion, when you want to get this kind of information. And the commands are pretty simple when you learn them. So get AD domain, if I just type that, that should just give me my information that I need. And there we go, we got it. So you see it right here where it gives you the domain DNS root, which is za.tryhackme.loc, but then you actually have the tryhackme.loc that ends up being your forest. Look at that, it says it right here as well. And then you can go out and do, depending on the version of this. So let's see if we can do get AD forest. Yeah, there you go. It also gives us get AD forest as a command, and then you can get the name like that. So the root domain in this particular case is the forest that they're referring to, and then that was our answer, which is tryhackme.loc. So let's go into securing authentication methods. All right, so there are a few things that we're going to learn about authentication methods in this particular task. We're going to use the built-in tool called Group Policy Management Editor, and it's attached or available in our AD machine right here for configuring various security policies. And the instructions are as so. So I guess we can just open up the server manager, and from server manager we can go to Group Policy Management, and then we can start editing specific parts of this. So let me go ahead and just open up the server manager real quick so that we can go through that. There it is, and they just clicked on it inside the start menu, but I'm going to search for it. And then once it's opened, it's going to take a couple of seconds for it to open. All right, now that it's opened, we're going to go to the tools right here. And from tools, we're going to just choose Group Policy Management, which is right there. And then that's going to open up another window for us, and from there we can go look at the various policies and kind of manage them. So I can click on default domain policy, I can edit the default domain policy, and then everything else that would have to do with that, and so on and so forth. So I'm not gonna mess with this right now, but that's how we kind of get into the group policy management editor. And then in here, the very next one that we're going to look at is the LAN manager hash. So the user account password for Windows isn't stored in clear text, it's stored in hash representation. And it's basically a bunch of alphanumeric characters. So 15 characters, nothing, what does it say? So it says with the password for any user account, when it's changed or set fewer than 15 characters, both LM hash and NT hash are generated by Windows and can be stored in the AD. The LM hash is relatively weaker than NT and is prone to fast boot attacks. The best recommendation is to prevent Windows from storing passwords in the LM hash, so you can access it through the following. So Group Policy Management Editor, Computer Configuration, Policies, Windows Settings, so on and so forth. So let me actually go and actually do that. So Group Policy Management Editor, Computer Configuration, is that part of our piece right here, domains, it's right here. So it's actually inside of this thing. So computer configuration, and then from computer configuration, we're going to go to policies, and from policies, we're going to go into Windows settings, and then let me see if this thing is going to load or it's going to be slow. From Windows settings, we're going to go into security settings. And from security settings, we're going to go into local policies. And from local policies, we're going to go into security options. And then we're going to go into network security. So let me make sure that I'm in the right little space here. And so double click network security, do not store LM hash value network policy. So network security, and there's a bunch of options for network security here. So we need to find the one that says do not store the LAN manager hash value on next password change, and that's the one that we want. So we're going to double click that, and then it says select define policy setting. So set policy, security policy setting, define this policy setting. It's already turned on, and so in this particular case it's enabled. And I think there's a specific thing right here. It says change the group policy setting in the VM so it does not store the LAN manager hash on the next password change. So we're already here, and it should already do it. So do not store the LAN manager, define this policy, enabled, so you do not want to store it, and we already have that, so that should be good. Then it says what is the default minimum password length in the attached VM, and we need to find that in the password settings, and that's also going to be under security. And so let's be, without getting ahead of ourselves, because it's going to be part of this thing that we're going to look at. So we're going to go ahead and check that out. So the next piece is SMB signing. So we did LAN manager hash. So SMB signing can be found in security options, Microsoft Network Server, digitally signed communication. And let's go try to find that Microsoft Network Server, digitally signed communication, always. That's the one that we need to double click. And then it says select enable digitally signed communications. So define this policy and then enable digitally signed communications. And we're going to make that applicable. You're about to change the setting to a value that may affect compatibility with clients. Yeah, that's fine. We want to do that. And I want to be enabled. And this stands for server message block. So SMB stands for server message block. Microsoft-based networks utilize this for file and print communication. We talked about this in the last video. It allows secure transmission over the network. Configuring signing through the group policy is crucial to detect man-in-the-middle attacks that may result in modification of SMB traffic in transit. SMB signing ensures the integrity of data for both client and the server, and all supported versions have an SMB packet signing option. So we already turned ours on, so that's great. And now we can go to LDAP, which is Lightweight Directory Access Protocol, and enables locating and authenticating resources on the network. Hackers may introduce replay or man-in-the-middle attacks to launch custom LDAP requests. Therefore, signing is a simple authentication security layer, SASL property, that only accepts signed LDAP requests and ignores any other request, which is plain text or non-SSL. And we can enable this by going through that specific thing. So it's going to be security options, domain controller, LDAP server signing requirements. So domain controller, LDAP server signing requirements. There we go. And then you want to define that, and then we want it to require signing. So there we go. Boom and boom, and we got that. So there you go. Bam. So password rotation. So here's another one that's kind of a big deal, right? So password rotation, Active Directory password security is critical to address because of the security breaches and password reuse. It becomes challenging for any organization to reset account passwords or update them everywhere, so they prefer not to do it. In this scenario could have a few alternate approaches. Each method has pros and cons. So first technique is creating a script to update passwords automatically in the scheduled task with the help of PowerShell. This does not require any additional overhead and removes all the manual efforts for password rotation, but it requires you to write and maintain the script, which could be challenging, especially if you don't know how to do that. The second technique would be add multi-factor authentication and choose not to change the password often. It adds a security layer and you won't need to change your password often, and you can learn about why that is great or not good. And the third technique is Microsoft provides a solution for services account password rotation through group managed services accounts, which changes passwords every 30 days or so. And that's probably the best thing that you want to do. And maybe even combine these two, because this is kind of like a good approach, is to have multi-factor authentication as well as a password rotation requirement that every 30 days or however many days it actually gets changed, that they force the user to change their password. And then we have the password policy itself. So it's under Windows settings, security settings. So security settings right here. And then we're going to go to account policies, which is this thing. And password policies inside the account policies. And in this particular case, it says, what is the minimum, the default minimum password length in this particular case. And if we go here and you look at minimum password length is 7 characters, which is pretty weak, honestly, when you think about it. So 7 characters. And that was it for that, for the password policy. And password signing policies, just to kind of get an understanding. Enable or enforce password history prevents at least 10 to 15 old passwords from being set as new ones, which is really good. Minimum password length. The minimum password length should be set at least 10 to 14 characters. And complexity requirements must not contain the name of the user account and ensure that the password has uppercase, lowercase, and digits or special characters inside it. A lot of people actually use their username as their password, which is also really, really bad. So, okay, so now we can move on to implementing least privilege, the concept of least privilege. All right, so let's talk about this. The least privilege model requires limiting the user or application to the minimize security risks and attack surfaces to access those things minimally at the lowest level that they absolutely need and nothing more. When the application or the user is allowed to operate with administrative privileges, they grant access to everything to modify things, alter things, create new things, or perform any action that an admin can actually do. And contrary to this, the least privilege model is the very, very opposite. So they don't get very many privileges, the lowest number of privileges that they would actually need to be able to do their job. And the advantages are pretty immense, right? So it prevents malware spread, minimize cyber attack chances, improves productivity, demonstrate compliance, and aids with classification of data. So creating the right type of accounts is very important. When you create a new user, you just want to make sure that they only get the privilege that they need, and you don't have to go back and fix something that was done that shouldn't have been done. So implementing the least privilege model requires setting up different account types for diverse purposes. So you have user accounts to promote using a regular account users for most people in the network, and it's unnecessary to perform regular duties, or excuse me, who are necessary to perform regular duties, not unnecessary, who are necessary. So user accounts do regular stuff, basically. Regular user accounts to do regular duties. Privilege accounts are accounts with elevated privileges, and they're further classified as the first and second privilege accounts. And then you have shared accounts that are shared amongst a group of people as the visitors with bare minimum privileges like guests to give limited access to a specific time or specific resources, those things. These accounts are not recommended and must be utilized in limited scenarios. And libraries have these. There's like guest accounts that you don't need login or anything like that. Shared accounts are, they don't need to be in every business. So if you have a shared account, or if you just got signed on to a company and you see that they have shared accounts, figure out why they have them, and if you don't need them, get rid of them immediately. Then you have RBAC, role-based access control on hosts, which can be simply defined as the permission that somebody gets based on their role. So management would have different permissions than a new person, like a teller. So a teller of a bank is, the lowest rung on the ladder, as you can kind of imagine. And then the branch manager has the most privileges in that specific branch. And then there's the district manager, right? And then there's the CEO of the bank. So the higher you go based on your role, you have more access to the environment, to the resources of the environment, so on and so forth. Per Wikipedia, so the official translation of Wikipedia, is the principle of minimal privilege, or the principle of least authority requires that in a particular abstraction layer of a computing environment, Jesus, every module, such as a process, a user, a program, depending on the subject, must be able to access only the information and resources that are necessary for their legitimate purpose. So a very long-winded, complex way of saying basically what I just said. Role-based access control allows you to indicate access privileges at different levels. It includes DNS zones, the server, or a resource record levels, and specifies who has access control over creating, editing, and deleting operations of various resources of Active Directory. Then you have the tiered access model that comprises plenty of technical controls that reduce the privilege escalation risks. So there's a logical structure that separates assets by creating boundaries for security purposes. The primary goal is the protection of the top valued identities, which is the tier 0 identities. And at the same time, domain members and other users can perform routine tasks such as checking email, internet, yada, yada, yada. And those are tier 1 and tier 2. And there are 3 tiers, 0, 1, and 2. So tier 0 is top level, includes admin accounts, domain controllers, and domain groups. Tier 0 would be domain member applications and servers. And then tier 2 are the end users, devices such as HR, sales staff, non-IT personnel. And this is what the screenshot for that would look like. Then to implement this is based on the principle of prevention of privileged credentials from crossing boundaries either accidentally or intentionally. And implementing technical controls via GPOs, group policy objects, is crucial to avoid such scenarios. And group policy objects put together the security rights that can deny access or grant permission. And we can read more about those inside the EAM, which is a Microsoft Enterprise Access Model article here. And very, very fancy. I'm not going to read this, but it's available to you. Enterprise Access Model, it's an article on the Microsoft documentation or the Microsoft Learn website. Then you have auditing of accounts. So it's a crucial task that mainly carries out by the correct account, meaning the admin account, assigning privileges and applying restrictions. There are 3 audit types: usage, privilege, and change audits. Usage audits allow monitoring each account's specific task and validating their access rights. A privilege audit allows you to check if the account in the system has the least privilege. And then change audits allows you to look for any improper changes to permissions, passwords, or settings, and any unacceptable change may lead to a data breach. So change audits are things that somebody could have breached your system, assigned themselves a new user, and given themselves permission, and then you see that a change audit was done, and then you're like, who did this? Why did they do this? And then you try to figure out if it was actually authentic, like authorized or not. So computers and printers must be added to tier 0, yay or nay. We're going to say nay to that. Suppose a vendor arrives at your facility for a 2-week duration task. Being a system administrator, you should create a high privilege account for him. And that's also nay. Dude, why? Why would you give the vendor that information? Jesus. Okay, let us now go into the next piece right here, which is Microsoft Security Compliance Toolkit. The MSCT, Microsoft Security Compliance Toolkit, it's an official toolkit by Microsoft to implement and manage local and domain level policies. We don't have to worry about complex policy syntaxes and scripts. Microsoft will provide pre-developed security baselines per the end user environment. You can download MSCT from their official website link, and you can find all the baseline policies analyzer software on the desktop scripts of our attached machine. So inside of this thing is where the stuff that we're going to be using probably is going to be. So installing security baselines, Microsoft offers security baselines readily available in consumable formats like group policy objects, backups. You can easily download it as a zip file and extract the content, and you can download and install the security baseline for Windows Server in a simple way. Go to Microsoft Security website, that link that they gave us, click download, click Windows Server Security Baseline zip, and then download, and that's it. Very, very simple. Open the extracted folder, and then scripts, and then select the desired baseline and execute with PowerShell and the policy analyzer. So let's see if we need to do this actually. So policy analyzer, there we go. Policy analyzer 4.0. And then you have the policy analyzer executable inside this thing, which is right here, and add manage local level policies. So be careful while downloading security baselines, as they should only be downloaded from the official Microsoft website. So find and open the baseline local install script in the PowerShell editor. Can you find the flag? So baseline local install script. So let's go back to scripts here. Security policy baseline. Find and open the baseline local install script. So let's see what I can do. Local script, baseline local install, and then we're going to run it with PowerShell. Okay, I see. So I was trying to actually run this instead of opening the actual script file to look at the script contents, and I was literally opening it inside of PowerShell, and I kept trying to run it, and I was like, why isn't it working? But you're not supposed to run the script. You're supposed to look at the contents of the script, and the way to do that is to open Windows PowerShell ISE, which is the editor, and then from there you can click on File and then open the file so that you can see the contents of the file. And here's the contents of the file. So now what I need to do is I need to find the flag, which is typically, they have a very similar right here. So flag, usually it starts with THM and inside these squiggly brackets, and that is the content of our flag. There you go. And so find open merge policy rule script, which is inside the policy analyzer, and then find that flag. So we're going to go here and we're going to do the same thing. So open, and then we're going to go back to the one more. We're going to go to scripts and then policy analyzer, and then find that script, which is the merge policy rule, which is this thing, and open this thing and go in here and try to find this flag. And right there at the very, very top, so that is the flag that we got here. So there you go. We got the flags. And now let us continue on and the last or second to last task here, which is protecting against known attacks. If an intruder successfully gains domain admin account access, you got to consider that the game is over. No one is ever ready to disclose the company's confidential data for financial loss or for financial loss. Before we discuss some known attacks, it's crucial to think like an attacker and develop a mindset wearing their shoes. And there's some already developed interesting rooms to this. The zero logon, have not done that one. I've done breaching AD, I've done exploiting AD, I want to say, and I think I've even done post exploitation. So let's see. Breaching, no way, I thought I did this already. Okay, I have not done breaching AD. Exploiting AD, I have not done either. And I haven't done post exploitation. Okay, so I mean, dude, I totally thought I did these. But there you go. And zero logon for, I don't think I've done this. Watch me having done this. No, I haven't done this either. Okay. So these are some good rooms, which best believe there's going to be videos about those coming out. So here are a couple of methods that they use for attacking AD. So Kerber roasting. It's a common, very successful post-exploitation technique for attackers to get privileged access to AD. The attacker exploits Kerberos ticket granting service, TGS, to request an encrypted password. And then the attacker cracks it offline through a bunch of different ways that we can do it. And they are difficult to detect because the request is made through an approved user. And from there, no unusual traffic pattern is generated during that process. So you can prevent the attack by ensuring an additional layer of authentication through multi-factor authentication by frequent periodic Kerberos key, distribution center, service account password resets. And we can learn more about that at this link here. And this is a Microsoft documentation. So there's Kerber roasting. And weak and easy to guess passwords. This one's kind of fairly easy to understand. And we have a password report PNG that we can check that out and see what that looks like over here. But it's basically passwords, right? It's like weak passwords, and they're easy to guess. And you can use a password dictionary attack to do those things, or you can use something called CrackStation, which is a website that has a giant rainbow table, which means that they have clear text passwords attached to the hash value of those passwords. And all you need to do is just drop in the hash in there, and they'll give you the clear text password within a second, literally less than a second. And it gives you the response to that. So those things are only possible because the password originally was just a weak password. And that way you kind of get, screwed, basically. And so this is our image here. So right here you have, let's see, the number of accounts with the same password, 186 with the same password, 181 with the same password. So these are the ones that they say that, I guess they're not compromised, or the password is not weak, but there's 186 accounts that have that same password. So that's kind of, it's not good. It's not good. So then we have brute forcing remote desktop protocol, which is done through password dictionaries as well. And they attack, essentially it means that they try all the different variations of a password for a user to try to brute force their way in. Once the brute force is successful, they quickly access the compromised system and try to do privilege escalation to give themselves higher privileges and do some really nasty stuff. The best recommendation is never expose RDP without additional security controls. Continuous audits for scanning attacks or brute force attempts are also an important step. Then you have publicly accessible shares. So share documents that are public or shared directories that are public that people can just get access to that share by doing a basic enumeration using a lot of different enumeration tools. And then once they know what your shared folder location is, they can just get into it and put scripts in there and then launch those scripts once they have RDP. So it's like some of these things are combined attacks. They put something inside a shared folder, and then because it's a shared folder, all they need is access to your system using a lower privileged user. And because they have access to that shared folder as the lower privileged user, they can do whatever's inside that shared folder. And so they go and they dump a malicious script in there. And then once they launch that script as the lower privileged user, they get themselves higher privileges. So public accessible shares are pretty big deal, you know. What it does is, this is the description here. So during a deconfiguration, some share folders are publicly accessible or left unauthenticated, providing an initial foothold. You can use the get smb open file commandlet in PowerShell to look for any undesired shares on the network and configure access to those things directly. So if I go into PowerShell here and I just clear my screen real quick, and then let's go back to the original C directory, and from here we're going to do get smb open file, and it should say, oh, nothing. So there's nothing here. So there you go. This is a secure computer. So during does Kerberoasting utilize an offline attack scheme for cracking password encrypted? And that would be yay. Yeah, there you go. As per the generator report, how many users have the same password as Aaron Booth? So let's see. Let's go find Aaron Booth. 186 people have the same passwords at this guy. My God. And that's it for protecting against known attacks. So we have a cheat sheet here. The cheat sheet in this particular case is not downloadable, which is unfortunate. So I think I have to go open image in a new tab and save it myself. But it basically talks about everything we just talked about in just one single image. So I do recommend that if you want, let me see if I can kind of zoom out of this. Is this a free room? It's a free room actually. So just go get yourself a account with TryHackMe, go into this free room and get access to all this information for yourself. You can even run the virtual machine here for free. So they have a lot of great free rooms. This is another one of the reasons why I like TryHackMe so much. Even if you don't feel like spending the $7 to get access to their paid accounts, it's $12, but if you use the link in the description below, it becomes $7. So even if you don't feel like paying that $7 to get, you know, paid access to all of their rooms, the advanced stuff, and the attack box, all that stuff, then you still get, there's over 300 something free rooms. One of the users in our community was the one that told me about that. Like, he went and searched all the free rooms inside TryHackMe, and he dropped a comment and he said, yeah, there's literally over 350 something free rooms inside of TryHackMe, and this is actually one of them. So you can go and just download this image instead of trying to take a screenshot of like a low quality image of this thing. So that way you can get access to this cheat sheet and just keep that in your toolbox, right? Or in your toolkit, your tool belt, whatever you want to call it. And you will be better for it. So there it is. There is our Active Directory Hardening room, and we killed it. All right, so that was it for Active Directory Hardening. If you're studying for your security engineer certification, security analyst, pen test plus, ethical hacker, any of those things, I do encourage you to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so that you get notified the next time that a video comes out in this path or any of our other paths. There's an entire playlist dedicated to SOC Level 1 for the junior security analyst, and we're going to be going into SOC Level 2 pretty soon. We have a playlist dedicated to Pentest Plus already, Pentest Plus already. So all those things are available to you already on this channel, and it's just going to keep coming. I do multiple uploads per week, sometimes one every single day. When it does get pretty busy for me, I can't do one a day. So for example, I think this last weekend I wasn't able to do any uploads. So I try to do one every single day, but at the very least you'll get several uploads per week. and sometimes even multiple per day. So I do the best that I can to put out as much content for you as possible so that it makes it easier for you to do your job as a security engineer or to pass your examinations, because this information really is dope. TryHackMe's info is really, really dope. And so it would be really awesome to have you as a part of our community. We're at 11:33, and it would be just one of those great things to have you be a part of our community. I do answer all the comments that come in, and sometimes I even make a video. If your comment is a really good comment and it asks a really good question, I'll get a video just for you. So I love the community. I would love to see you as a part of the community, and it would be an honor to have you as our community member. It's your boy Hank Hackerson at Hank Hacks Hackers, your favorite network and system attacker / protector. Hopefully you got a lot of value out of this. The next video that we're going to be doing is network device hardening. And until then, love, peace, and chicken grease. If no one else loves you, Hank loves you. And I will see you in the next video. Peace.